In this graph, we'll elaborate a bit more on the underlying reasoning for the shutdown price as developed in graph 13.3. We begin again with a short-run marginal cost curve holding capital fixed at 100, with the U shape indicating that the vertical slice of the production frontier that holds capital fixed at 100 has initially increasing marginal product of labor, but eventually diminishing marginal product of labor. The short-run average cost curve then again begins at roughly where the marginal cost curve begins and achieves its lowest point where the marginal cost curve crosses it. And the short-run average expense curve that includes the fixed expense on capital lies above the short-run average cost curve and also crosses the short-run marginal cost curve at its lowest point. At any output level, the difference between average expenditure and average cost is average fixed expenditure. Thus, as output increases, the average fixed expenditure decreases, which means the difference between the average expenditure and the average cost curves decreases, leading them to converge. When we set output to 1, the average fixed expenditure is equal to the fixed expenditure, and so, close to the vertical axis, we can measure the fixed expenditure of 100 units of capital as the difference between the magenta and the green curves. Now suppose that the market price P star settles at what we call the shutdown price in graph 13.3, at the price that's the lowest point of the short-run average cost curve. At that price, if the firm produces, it will produce X star as read off of point A, in other words where P star crosses the blue marginal cost curve. From point A, we can then read off the average short-run cost the firm incurs when it produces X star, and from A prime, we can read the average expenditure the firm will incur if it produces X star. The vertical distance from A to A prime is then the average fixed expenditure given output level X star, multiplied by X star. That gives us the total fixed expenditure on the 100 units of capital. The shaded blue area is price times output, which is equal to total revenue for the firm given that it produces X star and sells at P star. But since P star is equal to average cost, the blue area is also equal to average cost times X star. And average cost times X star is just equal to the total short-run cost the firm incurs when it produces X star. When the price falls at P star, total revenue is therefore equal to the total short-run costs, and short-run profit is equal to 0. Thus, for any price below P star, the firm will simply shut down and not produce, because its short-run profit would become negative. When the firm produces X star at P star, it therefore covers all of its short-run costs, but none of its short-run fixed expenditures. If the price goes a little bit above P star, the firm will recoup some of those fixed expenditures. But it's not necessary to recoup those in order to stay open in the short run, because the fixed expenditures are expenditures that have to be paid regardless of whether the firm produces or doesn't produce. Any amount that the firm can recoup at prices above P star is a bonus. It's positive short-run profit. But it's not required that any of it be recovered, because it is a sunk cost. What we're saying is yet another way of saying what we've said repeatedly. The supply curve for the firm is the marginal cost curve that lies above its average cost curve, and fixed expenses don't count as part of average costs.